hi everyone. Can everyone hear me all right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I see some thumbs up from the back. I've heard some of you can do some pretty amazing things here, like animated things. So I'll be looking out for that as I'm talking here. But so I've
That
mostly
isn't
presented
permission
this
to
in.
spam your animations, by the way. That is not permission to do that. Also, as a heads up, because I forgot to mention, go ahead and mute your microphones as well, just in case there's background noise in your house or something like that, please. Thank you. All right, David,
See,
for
I
real
was
this time.
so
I'm sorry.
yeah. I'm gonna have to start
I'm
telling
turning
you to
on the
be quiet,
chairs.
aren't I? I just muted my microphone because I was being too obedient, and then I realized I was the one speaking. So I've done this presentation quite a lot, but this is the second time I've ever done it in VR. I did a version of it a while ago, but I'm David Bass Clark, the director of AR VR research and development at Unity College. I'll tell you a little bit about us. I'm going to show you hopefully some visuals today, but then what I would like to do is kind of get a little conversation going if it's okay. It seems like it's a small enough group to do that. And just talk to you a little bit because I'd really like to learn from you all a little bit more about the metaverse that you're part of and how you might see some of this developing. So um, and I want to thank A Grasso is actually someone that I work with IRL and so she's helping out here as well. And I think is this your first time in VR chat? She probably muted herself because she did the right thing. So I think it might be her first time in VR chat. So what I'm going to do here is attempt to go to the next slide. Well, first, actually, rather, I'll talk to you a little about Unity College. So Unity College was originally a small school, about 500 to 600 students in a physical campus in the state of Maine in a little town called Unity, just a few thousand residents and 500 students. And they studied outdoor education, so sustainability, environmentalism, natural sciences. And the president of the college, Dr. Melik Corey, he decided about 5 years ago to take the college online. And for many years in the past 5 years, what that meant was that we would have online classes that looked very much like some of the larger online classes you might be familiar with. So discussion boards, some videos, all asynchronous education. Very, very little synchronous. And now I was hired about a little over a year ago to basically think about how we could do a lot of that education in virtual reality with augmented reality tools with really what I call XR, extended reality. And so it's that full spectrum all the way from virtual to mixed to augmented. So what I'm going to do is I'll show you a little bit of what that looks like today. We've built a few different products. This is me trying to get my hands to do what I want them to do. Come on, you can do it. There we go. Whoa, too far. All right. So in the past 12 months or so, we have built, and there's just a team of one plus a lot of great contractors and a couple of great interns that we've just added. We have built a bunch of simulations. Now, primarily, up until this point, these have been single player experiences. So these are things that people can do on their own time, anywhere, with a computer, but also we tend to have VR versions as well. We try to build both. And so, oh, sorry, that switched back and forth. Thank you for whoever was helping me out there. So we built 6 simulations that are currently running in our classes. We've got 5 more simulations in development that will be part of our programs. And we've got 4 courses, one of which is entirely, well, not entirely, mostly in VR and about VR. It's called Introduction to Virtual Reality. For you all, it might be pretty easy. But it's mainly for people that have never been in VR and that want to experience what that's like. And they start to think about how to, and I heard mentioned earlier, this is, to me, it's so funny to hear it as a game because I don't even think about, I know it is sort of a game, but I don't even think about it. Like, I just think of it as a venue and a place to gather. I'm sure many of you think about it as that way, in that way as well. And what I find to be really interesting is that a lot of the things that we think are impossible in reality, and that's proven here by the avatars and by the things we can do, are much easier to do in this environment. So I'm going to kind of skip ahead here to get to some of the more interesting stuff. So these are the investigative questions we have when we build these programs, these courses. We think about what can we do to accomplish things that are impossible with traditional educational modalities. Now, do I have a laser pointer by any chance? Let's see. No, I don't.
There is a
It's
laser
under the desk.
pointer underneath.
Under
Yeah.
the table. Yeah.
Oh, yes, yes, you taught me this, little bagel, and I have totally forgotten everything you taught me.
Oh
Do
no.
I dare? Do I dare try to look
Okay,
for this?
hold on. It's on your lap. It's on your lap.
It's on my lap. It's on my lap. Thank you.
There it is.
Oh, wait, but see, I wasn't.
Don't
Oh,
shine it
wait,
in
now
people's
how do
eyes.
I actually. Oh,
Now
gosh. Oh,
once you
gosh.
grab
How
it,
do
it
I.
lights up. Once you hit the trigger. There you go.
All right. Oh, but I don't know where I'm pointing it. That's the problem. See, I'm not very good at this yet. But in any case, you know what? I don't
Well,
need
we
it.
can
Here,
see
I'll
it.
just leave it in front of my head distractingly. So. This one here, the first one on the left side here is what can we accomplish with XR that's impossible without it? So a lot of people, I don't know if you're familiar, but in the education space where I work, there's a lot of people getting super excited about building the Yale campus in virtual reality, but or the MIT campus or the name your college campus. But the problem is they're really getting excited about things like whiteboards and these things we have here, which are great tools that people are familiar with. But in my opinion, we should be saying, how can we all teleport to new areas, fly around together? How can we now? And what I'd like to do next, which we didn't quite get in time for this, but I'd like to take this and say, here's a three-dimensional model on my desk of that forest I'm trying to show you, of that thing, and now I'm going to throw it over to you guys and you can see it on your desk. And I think this is where it starts to get really interesting because it's very resource intensive to do anything like that in reality. So this is the first filter we use to kind of build our experiences. The second one here in the middle is how can we design experiences that are accessible to a really wide variety of audiences? And so when we think about that, we don't always succeed here, but we think about universal design for learning. And so for us, what that means is we try to think about the extremes and everyone in the middle. So it could be anything from someone who's blind or deaf to just someone who has reading glasses, or someone on a bus who is trying to experience VR chat via mobile or whatever it might be. How can we make sure that as many people as possible can access this? People with mobility issues, just anything that might be a barrier to entry. So that's kind of the middle sort of important component that we think about. And the last one here, and we haven't done a whole lot of research, and I'm really excited to do more research around this, is to what extent can we replicate some authentic practices that learners can master in these digital environments and then transfer into the real world? And so how do we measure that efficacy? So I'm going to go ahead and I guess I might be like accidentally switching back and forth. Is that what I'm doing? Hold on. I want to stand up. I don't like this sitting business anymore. So these are the courses that today have oh my gosh, I'm sorry. Sometimes I see an avatar out of the corner of my eye and I think they're so awesome and I just have to stop for a second. So Captain Panda, that is so cool. I really like your yeah, nice. So uh what we've got here is a bunch of our courses that currently have virtual reality or three-dimensional interactive components. So these are the ones that we're using. We've got a virtual ocean and a virtual forest. I'll show you that in a little bit. They're in various stages of development. Not as many of them are in full virtual reality as I would like to be, but we do have a couple of those. So this virtual campus is what I'm most excited about. So I'm going to start with this and then run through all the rest really quickly. And then I want to come back to this because what I'd really like to do is kind of make this a little interactive, if it's okay with everyone, and get your opinion on what you would like to see in this world, because you all are actually much more experienced than myself and certainly than our students and staff that are trying to build this world. And so this is kind of where we are today, but we have a long way to go. So why do we want to build a virtual campus, whether it be in VR chat or any other place, right? Whatever platform. Well, all of our students are actually asynchronous, so they don't have that place where they can bump into each other. They don't have that. They go to a coffee shop right in the campus, or they go into a quad, or they just bump into a professor in the city they live in. There's none of that, right? Because all of our students live all over the world. And so this campus will hopefully be that nexus for them to have that serendipitous moment, that idea, and to build community, which you've all done here, to be able to say, you know what, I really like X, right? I really like, birds and I want to start a club around that. Or I really like virtualizing certain things and I want to start a club around three-dimensional virtualization of environments or whatever it might be. So that's the why of building this campus. So the what here, this is actually a video and I don't know if we're going to be able to do the video, which is, but let me see. Did A Grasso, did you get that sent to Lil Bagel? We've lost a Grasso.
Am I muted? Okay, I'm not muted anymore.
You were, but
It's
now you're
still
not.
uploading
Okay, okay.
to
Internet
YouTube,
problems. No worries.
but it's
What I'm gonna
almost
do is
done.
it's almost done. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come back to this because I think this would be worth kind of showing you the actual video of this. But this is our virtual campus, and I'll come back to it in a little bit so we can see that video together. What I'm gonna do in the meantime is kind of go through some of our. That's the only sort of networked multiplayer simulation that we have, and we're sort of building together. The rest of these are single player. So what does that mean? So in our wildlife conservation course, here's a good example of what I get really excited about. Students are asked to go out and count and identify animals. And when they're asked to do that, they get taught in many different ways about how to do it. But really, what's the best way, in my opinion, to learn is to actually go out and just try to do it, right? Is to try to actually have that repetitive practice. So what's cool is we drop them into this virtual forest where they have a little heads up display. They can do this in flat screen or VR. The VR version, for those of you that are technical, it's all built in Unity. And because of the processing power of these wonderful Oculuses, it's very limited. We don't tether to anything because anything that is tethered is going to build that socioeconomic barrier, right? So you're going to need thousands of dollars probably, or at least 1,000, let's say, to get a headset and a good computer. And we want to keep that price to as minimal as possible. So we try to build everything for untethered headsets, and that the power just isn't that great. So we've done best we can. We've done a lot of tricks to try to optimize the environment, but it just doesn't look quite as nice as it does here where this is flat screen. But they have a certain amount of time to identify a species of rabbit and actually do a population survey. So in that population survey, they're going to get a randomized number of rabbits in this forest, and then they're actually going to try to spot them, and then they count them, and then they estimate in a larger forest the size of 10 or 20 times or 100 times is how many rabbits. And they actually get told by the system how close they were. So the system changes each time. The other thing that happens is the rabbits interact with you. So you're actually able to, when you get really close to the rabbit, it'll freeze up and it'll, like a rabbit would, and it will not move again until you go move away from it. And then when you get like 3 feet from it, it'll actually bolt and run away. So we built a little bit of a basic AI with a Unity state machine in there. And that's the virtual forest. Now, what A Grasso and a bunch of other people working on is how do we build a much more realistic forest? So time of day simulations. We want to build some different light maps and bake those lighting in so that we can have evening, dawn, dusk, and daytime as well. How do we build seasonality? We have all kinds of things we want to do in this forest. How do we shrink ourselves with that idea of the impossible? How do we shrink ourselves down to the size of an ant and see the forest from that perspective and then build that into the class? And so we've really got a lot of big plans, and we need, honestly, a lot more people. Our capacity is limited. So this is something that we're building, that we've built rather, and is in one of our courses. There's that nice little rabbit. I really wish you could see. I know you can't see my little blue, but the blue that's built in is such a nice UI, and you can't see it, but I can. The blue laser. So the rabbit right there is. I'm trying to point. I can't point. There we go. The rabbit right there is the one I was mentioning, and it's in a rather unrealistic position. But those are the rabbits that we have in this. The next one I'm going to show here is a NOAA research vessel, very similar to the forest. This is where students are put onto a vessel like this. They can command the vessel. They have full control of it. And they actually have a few different, they have binoculars that's almost impossible, like 1000x zoom. And then they're trying to identify 4 different species of whales. And then again, do a population survey on those whales. But it's really hard because they can only see pieces of the whales on the surface. And then they can see the spouts coming out of the whales. And so they actually do it based on the shape of the spout. So this one's one of the more challenging ones that we have. And again, we want to build in a bunch of cool things, like let's throw them off the boat, dunk them underwater, and have them do an underwater part of this. Let's have them play God and rearrange the pollution in this area and see if they can make it better for the animals. So we've got a lot of ideas, but again, just got the basics in there today. This is the flat screen UI for it. And actually, you can't see the edges, but that's okay. So we have an oil platform off there to the far left. We put in a lot of different types of pollution into this virtual ocean. And I'm going to come back around to that video in just a minute, but we also have an underwater museum experience. Well, museum experience where you can go around just like any other museum, but we gave our students the ability to create the museum. So they're looking down. It's funny. I never had to. I'm like in the highest technology form, but I never had to explain this without good visuals. So it's a good like, okay, how do I do this with my hands? Also laughless. I love that. So here's basically what it is. You're looking down, if you can imagine, at a floor plan of a museum. get to place the different animals or different items in the museum, and then you get to annotate those animals in 3D. So the physiology and the anatomy of a whale or different types of marine mammals, and then you can publish that to the web. This was all built on the Unity engine as well. And then they can actually have that be a museum that anyone can walk around with just a basic FPS or FPC rather, and that's what you get. Now, so you can kind of see these annotations. Oops, I went to. Oh God. Oh, I've broken everything. All right. Wait, too far. On back. I can do it. I believe in myself. Okay. So right here we have these annotations under the whale. You can kind of see that they've annotated with words what the anatomy is there. But the underwater experience here, if you click on the diver mask and the experience, it fills the museum with water, and you actually see the animals swimming above you, and you can hear them in 360 audio. So that's kind of, again, that's a flat screen experience. We'd like to bring that into VR, but it gives that student an agency over creating their own worlds, which I think is really important. We have a veterinary simulation. I won't go much through that because it's really bad, to be honest, but we're in development for this, and this is how do animals interact in different ways with humans, and how do you calm down, let's say, a dog or a cat in preparation for a vaccination or blood draw. And so we're working really hard on making more realistic cats and dogs. It's quite a challenge, as you can imagine. And the last one here I'll show, this is a virtual reality crime scene investigation. So what do you touch forensically in a crime scene and in what order? And the system tracks it and gives you feedback. You only have a certain number of things that you can touch, right? Grabs, we call them in this case. And you have to essentially spend them down, and you have to be careful about what you touch in the scene. So another great example, I just think there's so many cool examples of how this can be used in educational purposes, and there just aren't enough people that I have working with me to make them happen. So I mentioned that EXRL 101, that's the virtual reality design course. That's what we're actually going to launch again in the fall. This course is online. It's not entirely in virtual reality, but it has a lot of virtual reality components, but very little synchronous components. So for those of you that really enjoyed this sort of experience, much of that would not be in this course because our students, again, are just, here's the reality. The demographics of our students is that they have 2 to 3 kids, 2 to 3 jobs. They don't have time to all get into a schedule in the same place at the same time. That being said, going back to the very beginning, that virtual campus, I'm actually going to go, I'm going to skip over the 360 media and go back to that virtual campus because this is what I really want to talk with you all about. I'd like to show you that video, but even if we can't show you that video, because I'm assuming, Agrasso, that we didn't get it up yet. It again.
I sent the virtual campus, the 2-minute one. That one
perfect.
did upload, so I sent the link to the email that you
Oh,
CC'd.
perfect. So maybe we can get that. How close are we, do you think, Little Big? Or whoever's doing that?
Currently do not have the email, if that's what I'm waiting on.
Oh. Okay. And this is entirely my fault, by the way. I didn't say like I really want video, but when I got in here, I just said to myself, I really want video. So what I can do is on the website, you'll actually be able to see this later. But let me just do a little, maybe that'll happen, maybe it won't. Let me do a little bit of a description. You can see here a little sneak peek of the campus. If you look beyond the greenhouse here and you go into the water behind it, we can actually all walk underwater in that area. There's manta rays and sea turtles and all different kinds of animals. And we can freeze time is the idea so that we can all gather around that animal and talk about its anatomy and biology. And then we also have the ability to fly in here, which is nice. So we can fly above the island, look at it from different perspectives. And then we've built in different biomes and a few other areas to talk about. But this is where I'm really interested in your opinion, knowing what you know about us, that we are an environmentalism school, that we are a natural science school, that's what we teach people, sustainability, but that we also want to be cutting edge. What would you like to see in an environment like this in a virtual campus that would really add to it? And I'm thinking specifically of like not just areas that are physical or features or things you can do, but also what sort of programming, right? If you could gather with people for educational purposes, what sort of programming would you like to see? Does it have to be a traditional course? Does it have to be, something that, what would it look like? So we can have a whole group discussion. I do have one question before we do like an open discussion. I have one question. Just pedagogically speaking, it would be interesting to me if at this moment I could suddenly pair you you off, right? And say, okay, have a conversation with your partner, put a little sound bubble around you, do that for 5 minutes, then come back and we'll share with the group. Is that something that VR chat is currently able to do? I don't mean today, but just in general, is it?
No,
Gotcha.
there's no way to
You
have
can
like private
you can
bubbles around
develop
people.
this.
You
can
with
develop
rooms,
this
yeah, it would
right?
be
If
developed.
you want.
It's possible to develop it, but not
By
in this
default,
world
no.
right now, at least.
Yeah. No, I don't. I know, of course not. I was just thinking out loud there that would be an interesting feature to like teach and learn together, so we can kind of communicate in different ways. But because we can't do that, I'd love to kind of just get your thoughts. What would you like to see in this world? And then, Little Bagel, if you do get that email, we can put it up here at some point. But it's just a video of this virtual campus. But I've described it to an extent. So yeah, what would you like to see? I don't know if I should call on people. Yeah, go ahead. Ether the Dreamer.
Ether the Dreamer, yep. So persistence, I know in VR chat's not quite here yet, but in here it would be cool to actually see like a progress on stuff. Like when you enter, you could see I've been through this, this, and this, and have it like universal between other platforms, like other, campuses and stuff that are all interrelated to the Unity college. I think that would be cool to add up in there, to like kind of virtually see where you are on different things and opportunities. Like here's another kind of course you might like, as well.
I love that. That's so cool. Yeah. So like, let me see if I understand. Like, so it would be sort of a HUD or something, or that would show, okay, you've done these 3 courses or these 3 experiences, you've completed them, and there's these more to go. And because you like that one, maybe you like this one, or maybe you want to be friends with these people, that sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. So you can track it without having to look at a desktop or something like that. And I mean, of course, it would be in there, but use an API that you could actually do it in the virtual environment as well.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. Any other ideas? What would you like to see in a world like this?
In
Yeah,
the campus specifically? Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
No, go
Panda.
ahead,
You got
Captain
this.
Panda. Yeah.
No, okay. I don't know. I think for as far as the what's it? The progressive. What was it again? What was it that Ether said? The progressive, or it's able to save what you've done already.
Oh, persistence.
Oh, persistent.
You're talking about
Persistence.
persistence.
Yes.
Mhm.
I think you are capable of having worlds actually interact with databases, remotely hosted databases. So that could be something that I'd suggest.
Yeah, I love that.
Solution.
Yeah,
But I like. I mean,
Very
persistence.
decent
problem.
Yeah, I've seen
Mhm.
a few worlds that have done that. So yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead, Little Bagel. Yeah.
So one thing that is a big deal when it comes down to these sorts of spaces is, in my personal opinion, we talk about like what these spaces can be used for, and just the way I know how we all interact with this game, the platform that we're on, the social platform we're on, is really more precise to refer to it like that. What keeps us around is the spaces, right? How engaging are the spaces that you're in? So one big thing that is focused on when it comes down to development, at least on our level, that I just like seeing anywhere else, is that yes, this space is utilized for this. It's a tool. It's very specialized for this sort of thing, and that's awesome. But after you're done with all that stuff, right? Is there places that you can go to kind of just like kind of take the load off a little bit and just kind of enjoy that you are in the experience? And with that, in my opinion, it kind of allows people to get more immersed in what they're doing, right? Because if they like where they're at, just in general, then everything else, that's just like, I think, the cherry on top when it comes down to it. Just how engaging are these environments,
I love that. That's great. Yeah. So I have so many thoughts about that, but I see. Yeah, go ahead.
So I was thinking, because I
tend to look at this from the business point of view always. On the corporate platform, what's important is to know what the suppliers are supplying and what the customers are buying. But I was thinking that in a campus like yours, probably I want to get together with the people that are studying things that are similar to me or that have interests similar to me. So maybe on a half confidential basis, I could decide to reveal what I'm studying and start connecting with people from all around the world and build little study groups and collaborations that way. I think that'd be pretty cool.
Precisely what I
Yes.
was thinking.
Yeah, I love that. Going further with that, I have two lines of question that I'm thinking of now. I hope you don't mind that I'm sort of turning this into just an informal chat session, but it's way more interesting, hopefully, for everyone. But one is you got me thinking of this a little bit. What is it that brings you when you think about all the things and all the hours that you've spent here in these spaces, whether it be this platform or another? What are the things that keep you coming back? Right, like that was an interesting sort of line of questioning. What keeps you coming back? I mean, yes, it's the people, right? I know that's a big part of it, but what sort of events and what things keep you interested and entertained and connected for long periods of time? And the other thing that makes me think of is what can we do? Like normally I would say, and is it Zenki? I want to make sure I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Oh yeah, no worries. I'm
Okay.
not picky on
Make sure.
Japanese.
Arigato gozaimasu, sensei. So, what I think is that we need to think about ways, like I would say, oh, you leave a board, like if you're not there and you say, I really want to, somebody who's studying, the natural habitats of snails, and I'm really interested in that. Normally we would have like a board, right? You'd leave it up on a board in real life or something. But I'm wondering in this space, like what are the UX ways or the different ways we can actually leave messages for each other or connect people that are interesting in this physical space that we couldn't do because a board just seems somehow not
So,
enough.
Ether earlier he was talking about following my progression from one session to another, and I thought that was very smart. But because of your setting being in environmental science and everything, I was sort of imagining that it could be a tree that is growing as I progress as well. So, I think that if you integrate the user experience and the UI with your mission, you could build something pretty awesome and magical.
I love the tree
Additionally,
idea.
with
We
that,
have a
heck
tree.
yeah.
I think
Heck
on
yeah.
building on that, you would get a
like
more
it.
realistic experience if you were doing that whole population counting. Because at that point now, it's not a pre-generated amount of rabbits in an area, and you have to make sure they find all of them. Now it's a simulation, meaning that now you know the answers based off of the simulation, but now you can see how close the methods actually get to a
Right.
simulated environment of how many animals there are. So now it's not a preset amount of animals, it's a simulated amount of animals that will grow over time persistently. And you have to check on things that are, so you can make a real dynamic environment that mimics what's going on in our world. Like
Very
the real
cool.
world.
Yeah. Yeah, it's awesome.
There's also
Toast?
kind of sort of like the opportunity here when you're studying environmental science. You could build something that allows you to push forward in time and scroll through time. You've already mentioned like stopping time in order to kind of discuss something, but you could move forward in time to see how different things in the environment affect that population. So you could have a UI, even like a slider that slides it forward, and you could make certain decisions or do certain tasks that can impact, let's say, the rabbit population, and you could see how different things in the environment change that over time. And you could literally just scroll through it and be like, well, if we do this, we do this task, how does that impact the population? And we're going to fast forward and find that out.
Yes, I love that. We've thought some of these we've got, but I can't write them down, but because I can't see. But yes, that's so cool. And we're thinking about time is one of the most powerful things we have control over in a strange way in virtual environments, I think. I don't know if other people are like that, but we have this or at least it's not real time. Oh, what am I doing?
You can actually write it down with a pen. That's why he gave me the pen.
Oh, thank you. Wait, can I write it on? I want to write it on here though.
Yeah.
No, I can't.
It's more of a joke. It's quite crappy.
Yeah, I know, but I want to.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not. But I do think that time is this really cool. We don't have control over it in a certain way in virtual environments, but we have control over the perception of it, I guess, right, Dork Toast? And that's what's really powerful. And what would be even more interesting as a way is to, not to compare, but if we had this natural world and just over time, as people walked paths or as they did certain activities without realizing it, erosion or whatever it might be, it actually changed the environment. And I think that would be sort of an interesting mimic of the real world. And suddenly we would have to put in place, erosion prevention items, right? Or certain things like that that we might have to do in the real as well. I love that. Other ideas or thoughts? Yeah, Ether.
I'm muted.
Oops, I
A
think you're muted.
suggestion. Oh, now I'm not. So another suggestion. Now you're talking about some kind of thing where you can leave stuff for other people to see and for an interaction. If you were to have it sort of like a virtual highlighter in a sense, where you can write a note somewhere in a world that's, universal, anybody can access it, and everybody can see it. If they were to be able to say you give permission to access your notes, over here you got to circle down at this thing, you're saying that's a turtle. It's a good looking turtle, and they see it and they're like, yeah, I think he thinks that's a good looking turtle. Or whatever it is, or make a note
Yeah.
about it. Say, hey, I wanted to show you something that was over here. This is actually a really interesting topic, and writing a few notes about it so you can kind of share your highlights. I don't know what your thoughts on
Yeah.
that is, but it would save to whatever, file that you carry around with you.
Yeah, it's almost like, is anyone familiar with hypothesis? It's spelled kind of weird, but it's this, yeah, Alex? It's this like annotation tool for the web. You can actually leave notes on the web, right? So, and you can overlay things onto the web. And it's almost like having something like that for the virtual worlds would be really, really useful. But then I start to get excited. What about, why does it have to be in the web? It almost has to be text, or it seems to make some sense. But here it'd be interesting to record thoughts and audio thoughts about something, or it could be text and audio, or it could just be something else, some other artifact to show that someone was here and they were marking it in some way. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool too. Yeah.
It brings me to a question about that you could teach me about, I think, as well, which is we're really concerned with safety and making sure that people feel accepted and safe in these environments, both from a legal standpoint, but also just from a moral standpoint. What are some of the things that you think you do as a community, but also maybe some rules and regulations that are in place to keep these spaces safe? I know one I learned was, that these spaces are private, that we can't just open up, right, spaces to everyone, and that seems to make sense. But are there other things that we could keep in mind as we build out our space? I'm gonna, Ether, just because I haven't heard from, but I will come back. Don't let me forget. Grand Vita Mortem.
Hello there. So,
Hi.
my community, it's really close to the sort of, the dangers that might persist in a medium such as this. I run the Mortician Syndicate. We're a criminal role play group. We pretend to go around as, criminals and operate and act like, the bad guys of VR chat. However, because of our proximity towards, the less than refined aspects of society, there's a difficulty there where some people might not be the best types of people to have to ensure their safety within the community. So, internal rules and regulations that I have promoted within my community, as well as, internally, showcasing, this is not stuff that we should be doing, this is stuff that we should be doing. And, promoting proper interactions amongst the rest of the, the metaverse is predominantly what I do to keep us above the water of, the riff that tries to, destroy what everybody else loves.
I love the way you speak. I love the words you're using. Yeah, that's really interesting. I would love to know more about that. I would love to know more about that. Wait, so, was someone else? Sorry. Was it you? I know Ether. Yeah, go ahead.
If it's just me, I want to make sure I'm not stepping on anybody. If there's anybody else.
I don't know. I thought I might have seen someone, but I wasn't sure, so.
Oh, I mean, you can kind of copy what they have already in VR chat. I don't know how familiar you are at the moment. It sounds like you're new. So we have a system in here that's like a ranking thing for trust level. So depending on all these factors, if people are adding you as a friend, that means they trust you. If you're putting in money to be a premium member with VR Chat Plus, that's a trust thing. All these things, augment your trust level. You had something like that, and I mean, we also have the flags, like a trust level that's nuisance. Not many people actually see it, but it exists.
Mhm.
So if there's some kind of flags in place for that, I think that's sort of the way it's taken care of in here, without virtual patrols walking around and saying you over there, and stopping on papers, please. We don't want to have a
Right.
totalitarian VR environment. We got enough of that in reality. So yeah, some kind of system that sort of
Yeah.
tracks in a way like where the community sees you.
Yeah.
So you can so there is a certain trust.
So, I just want to, before you answer, just say that I do have 2 of the videos that you've requested.
Oh, okay.
I've got the forest one, and I have the campus. Which one would you prefer?
Why don't we just do? We're not going to watch all of it. Well, we could do the whole campus. Why don't we do the campus just so people get a sense of some of that? And there's a spelling mistake in this video. Oh gosh, I stepped through the wall,
Uh-oh.
and I
Did
did
you
not
do
mean
that?
to. That was terrifying.
There's no collision. Oh no.
What the heck, Carl? Did you remove collision out of our walls?
Okay, Carl.
Staying away from that wall. Also, there's someone behind the wall,
Carl,
guys.
Carl told,
There's
Carl
someone
told
behind the
me,
wall.
That's right.
Oh, pay no
Carl told me he
attention
had
to
been
man behind the
optimizing.
collision.
I didn't know it involved removing walls.
Oh.
It's
Someone's
clearly.
standing behind the wall. Oh, over there. Look at them. Oh boy.
It's clearly.
Like I
All right.
could have.
Uh,
Whoa.
I got your video up and ready to go.
Hey, so-
Ready, David?
Thank you. Yeah. But this is a pretty short video, about 2 minutes long, but it'll give you a tour. We don't have to watch the whole thing. I rarely do.
Yeah, take your time.
Yeah.
Thanks, Agrasso, by the way. Ta-da! Is it playing for other people and not me?
Yeah, it's playing for other people. It's playing for me. Is it playing for anyone else?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it is.
You may not have.
It's kind of
these
laggy, but I don't
Not
have.
I don't have
for me.
audio.
Yeah, so
Is that
I
a
see
good-
it, but I don't
see
hear
the
audio.
though.
Give me a
I don't hear
second.
audio.
This is a
Oh,
10 out of 10
I just
experience
see a
for
black
me.
screen.
Yeah, I know.
this is just
Everything
like the last
decided
one
to
for me
break
because the
today.
video just
How
didn't.
Oh, an
amazing.
explosion!
Oh, I was just skipping.
Wow.
What? This is a 10 out of 10 experience for me. I don't know what you're talking about.
That's right.
Keanu?
Everything
All right,
works.
Everything works.
Hey.
It just works. That's our motto here.
But I
Well,
know
maybe-
I know what's
maybe
going on,
you thought
guys.
I was gonna get hazed, but you did.
I'm used to it though. I've got 4
Ooh.
years of it. I'm good.
No,
Did
but
everyone see the video now?
no, because it's not a Quest compatible link. Actually, that's the thing.
Oh.
Oh, if
I
it's-
don't think these people have Quest.
Yeah, if it's YouTube,
That
you
makes
can't. You have to
sense.
have like an MP4 and a direct link. Yeah, you
Got
can
it,
upload
got
it
it,
to
got
a web host
in
or something.
settings,
I have a site you can
in
go to.
settings,
Mhm.
do you have
Oh,
allow
right, trusted
untrusted
URLs.
URLs?
Yeah, allow
you-
untrusted URLs.
On Quest, you
would
need
be
a direct
very
link to the
useful.
file.
Yeah, that's why it's not
okay.
playing
So-
for you, David.
Don't.
Okay, never
Hey.
mind then.
Sorry about that.
No
guys.
worries, no worries.
You know what?
Yeah.
Let's post
You saw it?
let's post the links.
I see it. Yeah,
Oh.
it looks
Yeah.
great.
Yeah,
Oh,
we
you
can-
see it?
I see the win.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you what.
platform that
You
has
do
a
audio
map.
description?
Outside,
Yeah, I saw it.
Oh, it's playing.
we'll do this outside the metaverse. Outside of VR chat. I think
Yeah.
it's probably worth. If you do, well, here's what I'll do. I know we're probably. I don't know what time it is because guess what? I don't. Is there a clock?
It's currently 18.
I've got a
It
watch.
is.
650 EST.
So
Oh,
we're
it's recording.
almost we're
Yeah.
almost out of time. We're almost out of time anyway. But here's what I would love to do. I'm happy to take more questions. I asked you guys a bunch of questions. I'm happy to take questions. But I would say some of you have heard. If you have any interest at all, if you're whether it be someone who's interested in taking a course, whether it's someone who is interested in helping us build these worlds, we're particularly looking for subject matter expertise in these natural sciences, but also more importantly, in my case, people that are virtual artists. So that's both 2D UX UI, but also 3-dimensional animators, riggers, lighting designers, we're looking for world level builders, but we're also looking for Unity developers, Unreal developers. So if that's something that's your jam, I'll be totally upfront. We do not pay a lot, but we do pay, and we're looking for people to help out and to sort of work with us to help build some of these worlds. So if that's something you're interested in, or you just want to talk further about this, you have ideas, what I can do, or whoever can do it, it's in my email address. is my Calendly link. It's calendly.com/D-Bass-Clark. And that'll and you can I'm sure you can get it elsewhere. You can also email me.
You
I'm
can
all over
tell
the
me.
internet. So
You can tell me, guys, also if you're interested, and I'll put you in touch. Also, David,
yeah.
you're coming back at the main event. I think we're gonna build a little booth for you
Yes, I
guys.
would like to. Yeah, I would love to.
So from the 21st to the 23rd, you'll be there meeting people. So if it
Yeah.
doesn't interest you, but it could interest a friend, bring him to meet Dave.
Yeah, exactly. And it's been a real pleasure. But before we go, if we have a few minutes, I'm happy to take any questions or thoughts if people have things they want to discuss or ask about. Oh, but not this troublemaker here. Anybody but this one. No. Go ahead.
No, I feel targeted.
No.
Sorry. I'm like the front of the class teacher's pet right now.
No, go ahead.
In terms of subject matter, do you have already some people lined up to teach certain courses? And if there's anything specific that you know already, you said sciences. Anybody on board from the get-go, or is there all this opening slots outside of just the actual development of the environments and the logistics of how to facilitate?
Yeah. Really good question. So we, at the moment, can't step away legally from what we call the LMS, the Learning Management System. If you're familiar at all with education like Canvas or Blackboard or Moodle, we really can't step outside of that entirely to do, let's say, like a whole course entirely in VR. Just ADA compliance-wise, it's too tricky. However, so all of our courses, yes, we have about almost 2,000 students, and they're taking courses. Pieces of their courses have little components of this, but not nearly as much as we would like. Like we're just a few % of our courses have some component of three-dimensionality interactivity. That campus, though, is going to really open up that world. So for example, if someone they really want to do a workshop on, I don't know, whatever it is, it could be like crime scenes. If someone's really interested in crime scene investigation, they want to do an hour workshop on that. Really, it doesn't have to just be natural sciences, but it would be even better if it is something that's natural science based and sustainability, teaching people how to garden, teaching people about plants, identification, any of that or other things would be useful. So I would say there's nobody that we would turn away from a discussion. We do have a whole bunch of faculty that already teach. They just don't teach exclusively in virtual reality environments. Yeah. Who else? Somebody else was MacGyver? No.
Sorry.
Becky,
Or Leah?
I believe the guy to the left is looking for a question or has something to say.
Becky.
Go ahead.
The tiny one. Gotcha.
It's almost done.
Go ahead.
A couple of the other roleplay communities that interact with ours have been developing a sort of simulation program within VRChat that allows you to have NPCs that are interacting and operating as however it is that they are programmed to do. So you'd be able to do things with that, regard, where we've got NPCs that are, doing patrols around an area or, having, day and night cycle is obviously something that already occurs here on VRChat, but you've got, people and animals and various other things that interact with each other and react dynamically to the person interacting with them. Predominantly used presently
That's
for
awesome.
military type of stuff, but it can be ported over to a more peaceful and educational aspect of what it could be done.
Yeah, I love that. And when you talk about socialization, someone else said, I think we should do like capture the flag, on the campus or things like that. We can do things that are not necessarily violent, but game-like and sort of team building. So I love that idea.
There's quite a few freeze tag worlds all around. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, talk to
Well,
Jar. Jar could probably help.
Well,
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
that the thing.
Well,
I was
thanks
mainly
everyone.
going for...
I had such a blast. Feel free to. I'll be around for a little bit afterwards, but I got to run soon. But thank you so much, Zenki and Lil Bagel and everybody, Carl, everyone who's involved in this. I really appreciate the time, and I would hope to stay in touch with everybody.
Heck yeah! Thank you, David.
Thank you for coming.
Certainly.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank
Oh,
you, David.
thank you.
Everybody, let's thank
Good
David
idea.
for a presentation.
Hey. Good job,
Yeah,
David.
break your
This
controllers.
presentation makes everyone more excited about the future of the metaverse. As you can see, one of these goals is bringing in outside speakers in here. As I know, we're in our little bit a little bit of a walled garden here, and it's just really nice to crack it open every now and again and see what's going on beyond this experience that we have enjoyed for some of us 6 years, some of us
You're hot, Mike.
shorter than that. Some of us have been here since the beginning, and some have just joined maybe like a year ago, and they're like, "Oh my God, this space is amazing!" as it begins to mature. So, as we continue seeing things like this move forward, let's just keep on doing our best to make sure that you guys are gonna just pioneer a lot of this stuff. You know, I always look at everyone in these rooms and stuff, and all I see is just the pioneers of the metaverse every single time. You know, right now it's all fun and games and doing all this stuff, but later on it'll be even larger fun and games of craziness that's going on. So the future is bright, and I hope to see you guys next time. Let's go.
Yay.
Thank you, Leo.
Bye.
Thank you all.
Yeah.
I don't know how to clap.
Yeah.
Bravo,
Heck yeah.
bravo.
Sorry,
We
we're in
have clapping
class.
animations.